Hey friends, this is Michael Golzmane, and I want to talk to you a little bit about healers who are tired, stressed, or confused. And perhaps if you found your way to this video, you feel like you're fitting into that category. So let me sort of set the groundwork here for a moment for what I'm talking about. Many people feel called onto a path of healing work of some kind. And this can fit into a very, very broad category, and a very, very broad spectrum of techniques and modalities and just ways of being in the world. It's not really about a specific modality or even what you call yourself. The path of becoming a healer is at some level a choice, and at some other level not exactly a choice. What I mean by that is that the path of becoming a what I call healer, and I use that word in a very loose sense, and I mean that a healer is really someone who is consciously working with the evolution somehow of the deeper aspect of someone's soul, not just surface level reality, but somehow working at the deeper aspects of their being. So that really encompasses many different people, many different types of work. And so people who find themselves on this path often have not known they're on this path since an early age per se. It's not been like a traditional obvious career path. It certainly wouldn't have been something they went to college for, majoring in the healing arts. I mean, I wish we could do that, but very often that doesn't happen. Very often it's people who have been through a great deal of pain and suffering in their own lives, whether that's been physical, could be emotional and mental, it could be just a sense of loss of purpose, suicidal feelings, and a conglomeration of these things, possibly for many, many years, and have somehow been able to move through them to a large extent, if not completely. So in that sense, I mean the word healer by those people who have healed their own lives. They have found their path into healing somehow. They have been able to heal a challenge. And the reason why people find themselves, who become healers, find themselves often on a path of great challenge is because this is part of their soul contract. You don't learn to be a healer by reading a book somewhere or by getting a degree in it. Those things can be useful, but you learn by learning to heal your own life. You learn by learning to surrender into the presence of Spirit in whatever way is perfect and right for you according to your path, and by moving down that particular path with great courage, oftentimes not with great ease, sometimes with great reluctance and resistance. Now, I believe that this has often been chosen at a soul level before we incarnate, that those people who are going to be on a path to become somehow consciously healers often choose particular difficulties so that they can grow and evolve and really learn their craft in the trenches, as it were. So you know if you self-identify in this way. I want to say the point of this video is really to discuss this phenomenon of healers becoming tired, exhausted, or stressed, and even feeling after perhaps a few years or many years in their work that they want to move out of it. Now, I'm not saying that healing work cannot change in how it's manifesting in your life from year to year or perhaps over the course of time. I'm not talking about that. I have come to know a great many very powerful healers over the course of the years, and they often have a similar issue that compounds over the course of time, and this issue is the feeling of being overwhelmed by their work, not knowing how to achieve balance, and not necessarily even knowing what the issue is, perhaps feeling a great deal of angst, ennui, procrastination even, about their work, not knowing why they've somehow lost their relationship of love to their work, why they're resisting doing the work at all. Perhaps they're longing for something else. Seemingly strangely, they might be longing to do something that is just a regular 9-to-5 kind of thing, a regular hourly wage, maybe in something extremely mechanical or physical that doesn't involve any degree of sensitivity energetically. Now, I'm sort of giving a little bit of my own bio here because this is where I found myself in for years. And I'm speaking to that now from my own experience, and also perhaps speaking to you if you find yourself in this in this place. There are several reasons that can come up, and this is the reason I'm making this video, is to talk about the clearing potential that can happen when these types of issues are coming up for people. Now, the person that I studied Reiki with back many years ago, when I first started getting into energy healing work, I started the path of taking my Reiki trainings, which I recommend to people many times because they're very fantastic and the basis for a lot of healing work. And my teacher told me something that I really didn't believe at the time. She said that the more light you get, the more work you do perhaps, the higher you get on your spiritual path, the more you will tend to attract the darkness and the discordant energy to you. That didn't make a lot of, in some ways it made a lot of logical sense to me, in other ways it didn't make any logical sense to me. I'm like, well, isn't that just setting yourself up for failure? Why would you make that affirmation? Why would you make that declaration to yourself? What I found over time is that that can both be true and not true. The more you clear at the depths of your being, the more you can clear your own potential to, and contracts that you may have below the surface, to attract discordant energy. At the same time, while you're doing that, or even if you don't know you have to do that, even if you don't know that it's a potential to do that, you may be attracting, as you move up and up in consciousness and you move into helping more and more people, you may be taking on their stuff. You may be taking on stuff for the collective. Your own stuff may be coming to the surface that you're not aware of. This can include all kinds of blocks. This can include all kinds of entities. This can include all kinds of discordant energies that even with your best intentions, you may not even know how to clear. You may not even know you have them. I have found this issue, even in the midst of certain types of clearing work, you can become unaware because these things can go undetected, sort of under the radar, as it were. And I found that these issues, particularly entities, discarnates, heavy energies that can attach into your energy field from your own soul story and also picking it up from the collective and from your clients and from others, can over time really try to convince you that this is not the work for you, can try to convince you to stop doing it, can try to make you procrastinate, can try to make you quit it. You will think, perhaps, oh, this is just my guidance. I'm not really being guided to this work anymore. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling out of balance. I'm feeling stressed. But it may not be that. At least it may not be that may not be the full story. It may be that you are getting very energetically unclear. More stuff of your own past life trauma and issues are coming to the surface for clearing. You may or may not be aware of that. You may be taking on these beings and entities that are trying to fly beneath the radar, really trying to control and get you down and trying to bring you off of your path. And it's important to be aware of how to deal with this when this comes up. Even as you're listening to my voice now, is what you're feeling by this sort of stress or overwhelm, perhaps, about getting off of your path or moving into something else, is it really truly your own sense of guidance? Or is it something trying to get you off your path? This is a point of deep clearing work oftentimes. People do not know that they have these things going on, and oftentimes there can be other things that are happening for healers as well that are making them feel exhausted on their path. Not only can they be attracting entities that are trying to convince them to be off their path, but the point of stress and imbalance for them. One thing I've noticed with many healers is that they tend to use a lot of their own energy in their work frequently, and this tends to come across often as adrenal issues for healers over the long term. Now, I've had many people say to me, well, just don't use your own energy. Allow Spirit to do the work for you, and you'll be fine. I have found that to be something easier to say than it is to do sometimes, because we're often not conscious of how and why we're using our own energy, quote unquote, our own ego energy, in trying to facilitate clearing. We're not always clear on that particular point. We may have subconscious vows that we've taken in previous lifetimes that I'm supposed to save the world, I'm supposed to heal people, I'm supposed to do it all myself. We may have subconscious programs that are running the show for us, that even with their best intentions and most powerful healers out there, may be telling us, oh, you have to do this. Somehow you have been cast out of heaven, or you've been evicted from paradise, or God doesn't want you to be supported in this work or something. It may not be your conscious belief, but it may be something going on below the surface. So I'm making this video a bit of as a public service message to you to see, do you resonate with this particular phenomenon? I work with a lot of healers and people who are on a spiritual path that are trying to find their own way. And I know many of the inroads and outroads of the path because I've walked it myself and had to find my way through to where I am now, which is recognizing that my own feeling of being called off of my path, of feeling like I need to quit this work, I felt that very strongly for a long period of time, was really what we call now blocks and interference. It was really basically energies, dark and discordant energies from the universe trying to get me off my path because there was a potential, and not even a potential, an actualization that I was making a positive difference in people's lives and perhaps affecting the collective in a very positive way. And it is true that dark energies will come against you when that happens. It does not mean that you have to be a victim of those dark energies. It is important to recognize, not just calling in, people call in Archangel Michael and psychic protection and do smudging and call in the white light and all of these things. And all of these things may or may not really work for you. And if you've tried them and they haven't worked for you with regards to this, don't lose hope. Because what's really going on here, you may have the angels cannot protect you and shield you from that which is your own making. And if you have subconscious vows, contracts, programs, agreements to, for instance, take on everyone's stuff, a lot of healers have that. They have it subconsciously. They would say they totally deny that consciously if you talk to them, but subconsciously they may very well have addictions to take on people's stuff. They may have programs and contracts to take on people's stuff. Not even people you're working with. It could be people on the other side of the world or people in other dimensions, and you're taking on their stuff, and you're sort of acting as the clearinghouse, and you thought at one point in your soul's evolution that that was actually what your soul's purpose was, to just be a clearinghouse for all this discordant energy. So no matter how many angels you call in now, the angels can't shield you from yourself. They can't shield you from the programming that you're running, and this is a subconscious desire. It's the act of your own will to call in discord energy. So we need to look below the surface, and we need to get to all of those core issues to clear them, and then to be able to go into our healing work with consciousness, with balance, with integration, with ease. So my work has become so much about balance and grounding and integration, being in the physical body and being properly in relationship to our own spiritual destiny. Well, I could talk much more on this topic, but I wanted to just bring these points up because I wanted to let you know not to lose hope in your spiritual path. If anything I've said here has resonated with you, I encourage you to get in contact with me because I would be happy to do a check-in for you to see is your guidance, is your guidance being to be followed, that you're perhaps wanting to move into a different direction? Is that your inner truth, or is that something trying to convince you really against the divine plan for your life that, oh, it's enough with the healing work, enough with the light work? It's a big issue for spiritual people and people on the path now. So I'll leave it at that. Friends, feel free to click below this video to my website, clearingconnect.com. Get in touch with me. I would appreciate the connection, and I would love to hear your own story about where you're at in this process. So peace and blessings, friends. Until next time.